Did you really think America was done with Afghanistan? Think again. After 2 decades of war, trillions of dollars spent, and thousands of lives lost, the US walked away from Afghanistan in 2021, leaving behind chaos, confusion, and the Taliban back in power. But now, reports are saying America wants back in, not through troops on the ground, not through direct control, but through something far more strategic, the Bagram Airbase. Yes, the same massive airbase that once served as the heart of US military operations in Afghanistan. The same base that America abandoned overnight before its final withdrawal. So why do they suddenly want it again? What's happening behind the scenes? Is this about fighting terrorism or something much bigger, like power, control, and rivalry with China and Russia? Let's break down the truth behind America's return to Bagram in today's video. Before we dive into why America wants Bagram back, let's first talk about what Bagram Airbase actually is. Bagram isn't just some random military spot on the map. It's a fortress sitting in Afghanistan's Parwan province, around 50 kilometers north of Kabul. What began as a small Afghan airfield decades ago slowly turned into a symbol of global power after 2001. When the US invaded Afghanistan after 9/11, Bagram became the beating heart of their mission. For 20 long years, this base stayed alive with the sound of aircraft and constant military movement. It wasn't just a camp. It was a small American city built inside Afghanistan. It had giant runways, hangars for warplanes, fuel depots, and space for thousands of troops. Fighter jets, bombers, and drones all flew from here. Intelligence units worked day and night inside, tracking every move of the Taliban and other groups. Simply put, Bagram wasn't just a base. It was America's power, presence, and pride in Afghanistan. Now let's talk about why Bagram mattered so much to the United States. For America, this base wasn't just about fighting the Taliban. It was about strategy and control. The first reason is its location. Bagram sits very close to Kabul, the Afghan capital. That gave the US a direct line to the country's political center. Supplies, troops, and even diplomats could move quickly and safely whenever needed. The second reason, its size and strength. Bagram's long runways could handle giant military planes that most airbases in the region couldn't. Cargo planes, bombers, and special operations aircraft all relied on this one base. It was built to handle non-stop missions, from food delivery to rescue and combat flights. And then comes the regional advantage, maybe the most important one. From Bagram, the US could easily reach Pakistan, Central Asia, and even areas close to China. Many experts believe this made Bagram valuable not just for the Afghan war, but for America's wider power game in the region. That's why, even years after the withdrawal, voices in Washington still whisper about Bagram, because whoever controls this base controls a key point in Asia's heart. After knowing why Bagram was so important, let's look at how it was actually used for 20 years. From late 2001 until mid-2021, Bagram wasn't just a military airfield. It became a city within a city. For the US and NATO, it was the central hub for almost everything in Afghanistan. American forces launched combat missions from here, transported troops and supplies across the country, ran intelligence and drone operations. The base was alive 24/7. Planes taking off, troops moving, and missions being planned around the clock. But Bagram wasn't without controversy. Human rights groups criticized the detention center, saying many suspects were held without trial and subjected to harsh interrogations and abuse. Then came July 2021. As part of America's sudden withdrawal, the US military abandoned Bagram overnight, handing it over to Afghan forces. Just weeks later, when the Afghan government collapsed, the Taliban took control of the base. Now you'd think that after 20 years of war and a messy exit, America would never look back at Afghanistan. But here we are in 2025 and suddenly Bagram is back in the spotlight. It all started when Donald Trump, while running for president again, dropped a statement that shocked everyone. He said, "We are trying to take it back." Trump argued that Bagram sits dangerously close to China, right near the country's nuclear and missile testing zones. He called the base a major strategic position America should never have given up. And then came the online storm. Trump took to social media and wrote, "If Afghanistan doesn't give Bagram Airbase back, bad things are going to happen." That single post lit up news channels across the world. Behind the noise, reports from Al Monitor and The National said US officials have quietly discussed what retaking Bagram would even mean. And it's not simple. It would take a large military force, advanced defenses, and a serious risk of conflict in a region already full of tension. So now the question hanging in the air is this: was this just Trump talking tough for votes? Or is America truly eyeing a comeback in Afghanistan's backyard? So, what's really driving this sudden interest in Bagram? Is it just politics, or is there a much bigger game unfolding? According to several defense experts, America's new focus on Bagram is built on 5 strong reasons. Bagram sits in a spot that gives the US a perfect reach into China and Central Asia. From here, intelligence aircraft or surveillance missions could easily keep an eye on Xinjiang, Central Asia, and the wider Eurasian region. For Washington, that's not just distance, that's access. The US already spent billions building Bagram's massive runways, fuel depots, and high-tech shelters. Reopening it would be cheaper and faster than starting a new base from scratch. Groups like ISIS-K and Al-Qaeda still operate in parts of Afghanistan and beyond. Having a base like Bagram again could help the US respond faster, launch drones, monitor threats, or run emergency rescue missions. Owning a base isn't just about war, it's about influence. Holding Bagram would send a message to regional powers like China, Russia, and Iran that America is still in the game. Without a US base in Afghanistan, that space doesn't stay empty for long. Al Jazeera reports that China, Russia, and Iran are already expanding their reach in the region. The US might see Bagram as a way to stop that before it's too late. So, when you look at it closely, this isn't just about one airbase. It's about who controls Asia's crossroads in the years ahead. But of course, not everyone is cheering for America's comeback. In fact, almost everyone in the region is saying no, loud and clear. Let's start with the Taliban government itself. Taliban officials have repeatedly said that Afghanistan's sovereignty is not for sale. They said Afghanistan's independence and territorial integrity are of the utmost importance. Experts warn that trying to retake Bagram would look like a re-invasion, something the world wouldn't easily accept. It would require thousands of troops, new logistics, and massive funding. Plus, There's the issue of sovereignty, international law, and how other nations, especially China and Russia, would respond. So while some in Washington might see Bagram as a strategic prize, for the rest of the region, it looks more like a dangerous spark waiting to ignite. Even if America wants Bagram back, actually taking it is a whole different story. Experts say the road to reclaiming or operating from Bagram again is filled with massive challenges, both on the ground and in global politics. Such an operation would need over 10,000 troops, powerful air defenses, and tight supply lines stretching across risky territory. Just keeping the base safe from inside threats like local attacks or sabotage would already be a nightmare. The Taliban has made it clear they won't allow any foreign military back in the country. That means political pushback, legal rejection, and possibly armed confrontation, something the US likely wants to avoid at all costs. Countries like Russia, China, and Pakistan all reject the idea of any foreign base returning to Afghanistan. Trying to force the issue could light up new diplomatic tensions or even spark proxy conflicts in the region. The country is already dealing with terrorism, poor infrastructure, and political fragility. Adding a foreign military base back into that mix could trigger unrest, protest, and deeper divisions among Afghans themselves. Reoccupying Bagram would raise big questions about sovereignty, treaties, and human rights, and it could easily turn global opinion against the US once again. So even though the idea sounds bold on paper, in reality, bringing Bagram back under US control might be close to impossible without paying a huge price.
It's time for Fact Say Confidence Score.
So, in the end, the story of Bagram Airbase isn't just about one piece of land. It's about power, pride, and the fear of losing control in a region that never truly rests. For America, reclaiming Bagram might look like a chance to regain influence. For Afghanistan and its neighbors, it looks like opening old wounds all over again. But here's the question: do you think the US will really try to take Bagram back? Or is it just political talk to stir attention? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Till then, bye.